So, 2016, you're outside, walking, holding your phone like it owes you money. You're not checking emails, you're not texting. You're chasing a Jigglypuff into a parking lot at 11 p.m. And you weren't alone. 500 million people did the exact same thing in 60 days. 500 million people. That's more than the entire population of the United States, Canada, and Australia combined. All outside, all pointing their phones at statues, fountains, murals, bus stops. Now here's the part nobody told you. Every single one of those photos, saved, tagged, stored. And today, years later, a robot is using them to deliver your pizza. You built a robot navigation system. The reward was a virtual Squirtle. You're welcome, robot industry. To understand how we got here, we need to go back, not to 2016, further. Niantic, the company behind Pokémon Go, didn't start as a game company. It started inside Google. The founder, John Hanke, is the same guy who built Google Maps and Google Earth. Let that sink in. The man who mapped the entire planet from space decided to map it again, from the ground, using gamers. In 2013, Niantic launched a game called Ingress. It was basically the same idea as Pokémon Go. Walk around, scan real places, play the game. But Ingress was for a specific kind of person, the kind of person who reads the whole terms and conditions. So, about 12 people worldwide. Then, in 2016, Niantic slapped the Pokémon license on the same idea, and the internet absolutely lost its mind. In the first week alone, Pokémon Go broke the record for the most downloads in App Store history. People were walking into traffic. People were breaking into museums. 2 guys in California fell off a cliff chasing a Pokémon near the edge. Spoiler, they survived. Rattata, however, escaped. And meanwhile, very quietly, every single scan was being saved. Here's where it gets interesting, and a little bit uncomfortable. Every time you walked to a Pokestop and scanned it, your phone wasn't just checking if a Pokémon was there. It was recording the image. It was noting the GPS coordinates. It was logging your camera angle, the direction you were facing, the time of day, the weather, whether you were moving or standing still. Then, in 2020, 4 years in, Niantic added something called Field Research. The game literally asked you to scan real-world landmarks, statues, murals, buildings, bus stops, in exchange for in-game rewards. Which, honestly, is a brilliant business model if you think about it. Hey, do free mapping work for us? Here's a Snorlax candy. The result of 8 years of this? 30 billion images. Not 30 million, billion, with a B. Of over 1 million real-world locations. All tagged, all geolocated, all yours. Well, theirs. Technically theirs. Niantic fed all of this into something they call a Large Geospatial Model, or LGM, which powers their Visual Positioning System, or VPS. Here's the difference between GPS and VPS and why it matters. GPS works by talking to satellites 20,000 kilometers above your head. In open fields, perfect, beautiful, 10-meter accuracy. In a city, terrible. The signal bounces off buildings, gets confused, drifts. Your GPS dot can be 50 meters off. That's the difference between the cafe and the building site next door. VPS doesn't look up. It looks around. It identifies landmarks, corners, textures, edges, building features, converts them into a kind of visual fingerprint, and matches them against its database of 30 billion images. It figures out where you are based on what you can see, like a human would, except faster and much, much more obsessive. The accuracy? A few centimeters. Not meters, centimeters. In 6 degrees of freedom, by the way, meaning it knows not just where you are, but which direction you're facing, how you're tilted, all of it. Your phone essentially becomes a compass, a map, and a historian at once. Now, the part you've been waiting for. On March 10th, 2026, Niantic announced a partnership with Coco Robotics. Coco Robotics makes delivery robots, not the big, scary kind. Small, suitcase-sized robots that roll down sidewalks delivering food and groceries. About 1,000 of them, currently operating in Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, Jersey City, and Helsinki. They've already made over 500,000 deliveries. They can carry 8 large pizzas, or 4 bags of groceries, and they travel at about 8 kilometers an hour. The problem Coco had was simple. GPS doesn't work in cities. Dense buildings, underpasses, high-rises, freeways, all of them scramble GPS signals. And a 50-meter drift isn't just inconvenient for a robot. 50 meters puts you in the middle of a road, which, for a robot carrying your pizza, is what experts call bad. So they called Niantic, and Niantic said, "We have 30 billion images of the exact streets your robots are on. We know every corner, every doorstep, every curb cut. We built it with the help of people who thought they were playing a game." John Hanke, the CEO of Niantic, put it perfectly. He said, and I'm going to need a second to appreciate this quote, "It turns out that getting Pikachu to realistically run around and getting Coco's robot to safely navigate the world is actually the same problem." And he's right. Both need to know exactly where they are in physical space. Both need to anchor themselves to real-world objects. Both need centimeter-level accuracy to function. One was pretending to catch a fictional creature. The other is carrying your dinner. Same technology, very different stakes. Here's the thing that makes this story genuinely impressive, beyond the sarcasm. Google Maps uses street view cars, expensive vehicles, specially trained drivers, one set of cameras, one pass per street, maybe once a year, clean, controlled images, taken on nice days. Pokemon Go players, they photographed everything. At 3 a.m., in the rain, from weird angles, while running, in winter, in summer, in crowded streets, in empty alleys, from a tourist's perspective, from a local's perspective. Thousands of images of the same location at different times in different conditions. And that messy, chaotic, human diversity of data, that's exactly what a robot needs. A delivery robot doesn't get to wait for nice weather. It needs to recognize a corner at night, in the rain, when there's construction, when a truck is parked in the way. Pokemon Go players already captured all of those conditions, millions of times across thousands of cities. For free. As one analyst put it, Niantic built the most complete street-level visual dataset in the world. And they didn't deploy a single camera car. They gave people a game and let them do the work. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or in this case, the electrode in the room. Did anyone ask Pokemon Go players if they wanted to build a navigation database for robots? No. Did Niantic tell anyone this was happening? Also no. Now, technically, it was all in the terms of service. The document that is approximately the length of the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy that every single person clicks agree on without reading a single word. This is the same trick Google's CAPTCHA tests used. You know the ones. Click on all the traffic lights. Turns out those weren't just security checks. They were training computer vision models. You identified traffic lights. The AI learned what traffic lights look like. Congratulations, you've been an unpaid AI trainer since 2007. The question being asked now is whether you agreed to the terms of service is enough consent when the commercial application was never something the players could have imagined. Nobody downloading Pokemon Go in 2016 thought, "I'd better check whether these scans will guide autonomous delivery robots through the streets of Los Angeles in 2026, because that sentence would have sounded completely insane in 2016. And Niantic hasn't just sold this data to robots. Experts have pointed out that a system which can identify exactly where a photo was taken based on landmarks in the background has some other potential uses that we probably don't need to spell out here. But here's what makes this story bigger than just Pokemon and robots. Niantic's stated goal is something they call a living map. Not a snapshot of the world, a constantly updating model of the world, one that refreshes as new data comes in. The Coco robots that now use the VPS system, their cameras feed new data back into the map. Every delivery the robot makes updates the database. The robots are both users of the map and contributors to it. The dataset is, in a very literal sense, alive. And Coco is just the first partner. Niantic has already announced deals for drones, for AR headsets, for mixed reality glasses. They're building infrastructure, not a game company, not an AR company. Infrastructure, like roads, but for machines that need to see. The CTO of Niantic Spatial put it plainly. Everybody thought that AR was the future, that AR glasses were coming, and then robots became the audience. Think about what that means. The technology they built to make Pikachu appear on your desk is now the same technology guiding a robot through a Chicago blizzard to get your lo mein to you before it gets cold. In 2016, nobody thought they were building anything. They were just outside, phone in hand, chasing something that didn't exist. But every scan was saved. The map didn't announce itself. It just grew. And now, a robot is using it to find your front door. Nobody told you. Nobody asked. It just happened. One Snorlax at a time. Everyday things hide invisible systems. And this one started with a Snorlax. This is Stick and Seek. Everything hides something. Stay curious. I'll see you in the next one.